Right, let's take a look at today's stage then. 160 kilometres heading west from Ourense to the tourist town of Baiona on the Galician coast. There's one third category climb in the middle of it and a couple of other unofficial ones on the run-in, which might make things interesting depending on who's in the break or who decides to go for a late attack. Safe to say that Alberto Contador won't be trying to take back any of his 52-second deficit today. He'll be taking on Quintana, Froome and Valverde soon enough on the uphill finish tomorrow. Only 3 men got in the early break, so not much chance of them surviving to the end, but every chance of one of them relieving Pete Kenyon of the first of his jerseys, because whoever gets to the top of the day's lone climb will lead the King of the Mountains competition.
Attack from Katusha, 12.8 kilometres to go, so it was always set up for this last little uncategorised climb, and just that has happened. And well, Katusha are on the march, and it's Tiago Machado who's gone, the Portuguese rider. So always a stage without the big sprinters' trains to control things. It was always going to be open to this kind of attack, especially with the catch being relatively early and plenty of racing still to go until the finish line.
Exactly, and I think it's something as well that
Gilbert's having a little look as well, yeah.
Tiago Machado, let's not forget, they're not too far from Portugal. He doesn't get many opportunities in the World Tour races to get so close to Portugal, so no doubt that's an added motivation. But he is a great rider at this sort of thing. Back in his heyday, he was an amazing time trialist, and so there's no reason, 12Ks to go. You wouldn't want to give him too much for gap, in all honesty, because he does have the engine to do it when he's at his best.
So Philippe Gilbert looked like he wanted to get after that, which was interesting. He's not done racing just yet, I don't think. But in the meantime, it's over to you, Tiago Machado, to see what you can do. Machado starts the day 1 minute and 17 seconds down in the general classification, so they can allow him to get away a little. At least the GC teams can. Those teams who are thinking about a stage win, and that includes Orica Bike Exchange, have got a job on their hands, perhaps to bring this man back. But they're still going uphill, and he's still got 12 kilometres between here and the finishing line.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Machado's done reconnaissance of this. Like I said, there's only this and tomorrow's stage that are so close to Portugal, and that will have been a massive motivation for him. And it's a finale that does suit us, a rider like him. The fact he could get away like that, everyone else is riding a conservative race, and there's no super big sprinters teams here. So if you're going to try a move like that, this is the sort of stage and this sort of peloton situation where it could possibly work.
16 seconds, pretty quickly Machado has managed to eke away, and that is an attack from one of the FDJ riders. It couldn't possibly be Kenny Elissonde.
It looks like it's so small.
Yeah, that's definitely Kenny Elissonde. So Elissonde is on the march again. He was very aggressive last week at Vuelta, or a couple of weeks ago at Vuelta a Burgos as well, attacking on a climb early on in the stage race and provoking a reaction from Alberto Contador. On that occasion, Contador shut it down pretty quickly, but Elissonde is on the march and trying initially, his first objective will be to get across to Machado so that those two can work together with 11.4 kilometres remaining.
And this is the great thing when you don't have all the sprinters teams here and the big sprinters. It does open the race up slightly. These are moves that normally wouldn't even take place. So it does create a much more aggressive style of racing, because whereas it would have been completely hopeless to try something like this when all those big teams are here, you can see it's launching off in all different directions. That's an IAM rider, Ethics Quickstep marking it out there. So, but it is active at the front, and that would indicate that the pace is not so high at the front of the peloton at the moment.
They might well continue to come as well as riders sense an opportunity. You can see AG2R La Mondiale with a couple of riders trying to get into that little move as riders get up the road and across to Elissonde and Machado, who have ignited things. There's a Katusha rider moving up the right. They've got riders though in that pairing up the road, and now AG2R La Mondiale, IAM Cycling and Ethics Quickstep are the next 3 teams to respond and try and get across. Only 10 seconds though from the front of the race to the red jersey group, and coming down all the time. So there's Elissonde, so he hasn't managed to get over to Machado just yet, and those 4 riders are together, and there's a reaction, I think, from BMC on the attack, and they continue, don't they, to pile off the front of the peloton.
Exactly, wouldn't be surprised to see that's Jempe Drucker. We did have a feeling that maybe if Philippe Gilbert was softening it up on the earlier climb, that maybe that would force them to do something here. And you can see there's a lot of teams here that normally you wouldn't see so active at this point in the race, because they'd have sprinters. So it's opening it up slightly, and a group of 5 or 6 does stand a legitimate chance of making it to the finish line if they can just break the elastic between them and the peloton and open up some air between them.
Still, it's this man on his own out front. No one's got across to him.
That's going to drop down now. I think that's just coming up to the summit, if you like. So there was a climb, and then this is the false flat plateau, and now they're going to drop down, and then it's only 8 or 9Ks. The 9Ks, you can see, so they've got about 2K, 3K, up to 3.5K descent. So that's going to be a good, well, actually it's good for everybody at this point in the race.
Well, that group of 4 or 5 riders has been swamped. There's one rider, though, who's off the front. Well, that was Machado, actually. So it has closed together with 9.2 kilometres remaining. Won't be long before they get across to Machado, and it's Tinkoff who are working hard to close the gap now to the man from Portugal, the Katusha rider.
And this is the problem for the breakaway. Although the peloton the make of the peloton is beneficial towards a breakaway because there aren't the big sprinters or big sprinters teams. The roads are so wide, all the teams can group together, get to the front, and they can organise themselves so easily that it makes it difficult for the breakaway to get away. Because even if they do get the gap, the team will then get under control, get on the front of the unit, and chase it down again.
Peloton agrupado, it's all come back together, 8.5 kilometres. So after Gilbert's attack, after Machado's attack, and that counter-attack by a number of riders, including Ben Helmans from BMC, who are very aggressive today, and Kenny Elissonde from FDJ, and others, none of those have stuck. And it may well still be the bunch sprint, but I don't think the attacks are over just yet. 10 seconds, don't forget, for the winner of the stage, and that could be very significant for some of the fancied sprinters, in inverted commas, who are high up in the general classification. And I'm thinking in particular of JJ Rojas, the rider who has in the past been effectively a pure sprinter earlier on in his career, and certainly has produced some notable sprints, most recently in 2015 at the Tour of Qatar, where he took some big scalps. And he is well, he's on 0 seconds relative to Pete Kenyon. So if he were to place in the top 3 of a bunch sprint, Rojas would have every chance of being the next leader of the Vuelta. And as a Spaniard on the Vuelta, riding for a Spanish team, that would be a big deal.
And it wouldn't be surprising to see Alejandro Valverde lead him out, although they'll make that decision between them who's feeling better. Maybe Alejandro, there he is in the green jersey in the centre, so he is doing the work for Rojas, which is a gentlemanly thing to do, because Rojas, although he's a sprinter, spends most of his time Movistar being a domestique, doing all the hard labour that we don't really see. So this will be an opportunity for the team to give something back to him, to allow him a leadership role today.
A little bit of bumping between the rider from FDJ, and I think that is Lorenzo Monzin, 22 years old, from the Isle of Réunion, their sprinter. He's in about 6th wheel now, just sitting next to Luis Leon Sanchez, as you correctly identified, from Astana. And is that a long-range attack from Adam Hans? He's pulled over to the right-hand side of the road, looking across the road. No,
it's works time. So you see Dimension Data, I think that's Nathan Haas for Dimension Data in the front there in the centre. So 3.2K to go. Now this is a relatively safe run-in. Big roads, they have the roundabouts, but there's no sharp corners. So it's a perfect, I mean, this is the dream finish for most sprinters. There's Tyler Farr in second with a ponytail, you just got a glimpse of. Interestingly, so far up the front.
Well, I think he was looking around to see where Christian Speragli was, and I think he might well be leading out Speragli today. That was the impression I got, and I think I caught a glimpse of Christian Speragli, as you can see the battle that young Hugh Carthy has on his hands just to retain contact with the peloton at this stage and not lose any more time. I think Speragli was slightly detached from Tyler Farah, a little bit further back down. There he is, sitting on the wheel of the Bora Argon rider in about 4th wheel. So I think they're riding for him today.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's no reason why Tyler Farah would be so far at the front otherwise. Speragli's choosing his wheels, sitting around there. So once again,
Bonifacio on his wheel too. Whoa! And one of the riders from Katusha has gone down, and he's delayed one of the BMC, well, the entire BMC train. So if John Drucker was there, I think John Drucker might have just got himself through that and escaped it. So he's still there, but Katusha rider going down hard there. Pete Kenyon's still there in the red jersey, interestingly.
Rojas as well. Rojas in prime position, in about 8th position, just with the Dimension Data riders. So Dimension Data are in the best position at the moment regards their lead out. They've got 3 riders there, but Rojas seems to be just piggybacking that.
All getting nicely strung out now, isn't it, with 2 kilometres to go. And there is Pete Kenyon in about 10th wheel, still there and thereabouts as Tyler Farah starts to grit his teeth. Dimension Data with strength in numbers towards the front. Lorenzo Monzin from FDJ still there, and now Ethics Quickstep are manoeuvring Gianni Meersman, the Belgian classics rider, up on the left-hand side of the road. He can win from a select group as well. He's got a fast finish on him. Jonas van Genechten as well from IM Cycling, trying to position himself on the wheel of these established sprinters further up the road, and Christian Speragli is a specialised sprinter. And let's have a look at this crash again. Don't know who it was from Katusha. It wasn't Machado, was it?
Oh, he just got, I think, yeah, well, it was the Trek Segafredo rider that lost his line. Now, I don't know if it was a mechanical or heat clip something, but he really just got, he got knocked off his bike.
Wooten is the rider who came down there. And Dimension Data have control of the front of the race again. So 1.2 kilometres to go, and Sperali still has Tyler Farrer as his pilot fish, if you like, his lead-out man. And through 1 kilometre they go. And Lotto Soudal still have Tosh van der Zande, although he's a little bit detached from his lead-out. And down the front of the, in the middle of the race, Nicolo Bonifacio still has men to burn out for Trek Segafredo, but still Dimension Data are setting the pace, lining themselves up now for the final sprint finish. And there's a rider as well in the mix from Carradura Seguros, and that is Edward Prades in the green jersey, but he's a little bit too far back as Bora Argon 18 hit the front. But it's all about Ethics Quick Step at the moment. They've got 4 riders towards the front. Prades opens up his sprint from Carradura, but well, Ethics Quick Step are on the left-hand side of the road, manoeuvring Gianni Meersman into prime position. Christian Sperali is there or thereabouts. Lorenzo Monzao still, and on the right-hand side of the road, I think it's Tony Urel from Direct Energy, but it is Ethics Quick Step who are moving to the front. Can Meersman get there? All the while, Michal Kwiatkowski is coming out to play as the rider goes down from Direct Energy. It's Meersman who takes the win for Ethics Quick Step over the line, but that was mighty close in the end and thoroughly chaotic. Over the line they continue to come. Are there any gaps emerging?
Well, I don't think there are any gaps emerging, which is quite remarkable when you see this crash. Look at that, right in the centre at that point of the race. Normally you'd expect that to rip it to pieces, but look at Meersman. Ethics Quickstep rode that perfectly. They
had strength in numbers, but look at Michal Kwiatkowski for Sky crossing the line, I think in 4th place. If that's the case, that will give him the race lead and the red jersey after Pete Kenyuk. No doubt about the winner, though. That is Gianni Meersman from Ethics Quickstep, the winners of Stage 2.
Which just left the identity of the lone crash victim, who it turned out was Direct Energy's Canadian rider Ryan Anderson. From his breathing, it looked at first as though the length of time he stayed on the ground might have had to do with the effort he'd just put in rather than any injuries from going down. But once the medics got to him and helped him up, he was very shaky on his feet. He did finish, but we'll have to see whether he starts in the morning. There's the stage result. Meersman from Schwarzman. Magnus Cort Nielsen of Orica Bike Exchange was 3rd, and Michal Kwiatkowski 4th, ahead of Van Genechten, Sperali, Bonifacio, Restrepo, Drucker and Monzam. And with the first points on offer on the line today, Gianni Meersman's win also brought him the green jersey.
Gianni, you've been in very good form recently in Wallonie and Burgos. You've obviously prepared for this Vuelta perfectly and you're in great form.
Yeah, those 2 races, Wallonie and Burgos, was really the races that I need to step up one more level to be really at 100% here. And my first goal was today, the stage of today, and I'm really happy that I could win the stage. I really have to thank the team because the last 2K they were really, really important to bring me to the front and to do the perfect lead out today.
With the 3 points he took at the top of the day's climb, Laurent Pichon took the King of the Mountains jersey as well as the combined jersey, which just left 1 from the late summer collection Peter Kenyuk started the day with. And there's confirmation that the race leader's gone too, and in just the way he predicted to his teammate Michal Kwiatkowski. He now leads from the Movistar pair of Jose Joaquin Rojas and Alejandro Valverde. Chris Froome and Salvatore Puccio also move ahead of Kenyuk, who's now 6th with Nairo Quintana behind him. Sky and Movistar still fill the top 10 places. Just the order has changed, and the identity of the Sky rider wearing his first ever Grand Tour leaders jersey.
Michal, we spoke to you this morning. You said you might not do the sprint. It wasn't necessarily a stage for you, and here you are in the red jersey.
Yeah, of course that wasn't strictly planned, but we were up there in the front, and especially I'm really thankful to Pete that he helped me out in the final meters. You know, team rode amazing, and Chris was safe right there in the bunch. So I really was looking for what's gonna do. How fast is gonna go Rojas in the sprint, because he's just behind us in the GC, so I was trying to outsprint him, but of course I was trying to sprint for myself, and I'm really thankful to the team that I had this opportunity to wear the red jersey.